Hello everyone and welcome to the Captain's video weblog. We are Friday, October the... Oh, I'm not entirely sure. I think we're the 9th. I have absolutely no way to check what day we are because my computer is actually off. So, well, it's not actually off. It's sleeping. If I might say so. Yeah, I think we are Friday the 9th because NXT TakeOver Respect was on the 7th and it was hella good. Just watched it. Actually, I watched it when I woke up, which was around noon, because I'm someone who should not be trusted with waking up early, it seems. I really said earlier that in an earlier podcast, video weblog, that I didn't sleep a lot. Turns out my body has listened to me and now I cannot sleep less than 6-7 hours. So there's that. NXT TakeOver Respect, great show. It had some weird booking, like I would have hoped the Dusty Classic would have ended with a true face-off between two teams, two real tag teams, two actual tag teams. There were two in the semi-finals, which were Chad Gable and Jason Jordan, and in the other bracket were Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder. But they were facing two teams of wrestlers that were pretty much put together. On one hand was Samoa Joe and the NXT champion Finn Balor, and on the other bracket was Baron Corbin and Rhino. I mean, I'm not entirely mad that Finn Balor and Samoa Joe won, but God, I mean, I would have hoped the actual tag teams would have been pitted one against each other, just so that we would get a true tag team final. I mean, have you seen Chad Gable's abilities? That Chaos Theory on Baron Corbin was a thing of beauty. For those who don't know what a Chaos Theory is, I mean, basically you take your opponent from behind, you push him on the turnbuckles, then you kind of roll it up, and you end up with a German suplex. And if you're agile enough, you even go for the pin with a bridge. That's exactly what Chad Gable did. It was great, holy shit. But the main event blew the roof of Full Sail University. Well, Full Sail Live, the facility where NXT tapes its shows. It was Sasha Banks versus Bayley in a 30-minute Iron Man match. I don't like really saying Iron Man match when there are two women, because it kind of makes it, I mean, I know that it's supposed to be a reference to the Iron Man triathlon, I think, the competition in Hawaii, where you are basically the strongest. But it would have been cool if they called it the Iron Woman. Even though it would have made a reference to Margaret Thatcher, which is a bit unfortunate. But it was such a great match. Oh God! At the moment, Sasha just showed just how good, just how vicious a heel she is. She was such a bitch. That was great. And I mean, at that moment I thought, hey, if that can't make the Sasha is Ratchet chance come back, nothing will. And sure enough, they came back, and it was, that's the kind of chance you think, hey, that's not okay. You can call a woman Ratchet. But that was the thing with her. She's either the boss or she's ratchet, and there she was really ratchet. But it was so great, and that finish, oh Jesus Christ! I thought it would never end. I thought we would have a draw, and it would go on overtime, because I mean it would have deserved it. 30 minutes, it's not enough. On the next NXT event where there's a match for the women's title, if there's a female competitor that can go against Bayley hard enough, it would be just great to have them go for a whole hour. I mean, the sky's the limit with the women's division in NXT, except for Eva Marie and maybe Dana Brooke. But Dana Brooke, she really worked well with Asuka. I think she was the right opponent to start off. Oh, there's Emma. Emma can get a good match out. Could get a real good match out of Bayley, even though Bayley can get good matches out of her. She doesn't need anyone to have a good match. Well, I mean, she needs an opponent, that's for sure. But it was so great. Anyway, today is a little early compared to the usual time at which I usually do the video weblogs. That's redundant. It's 6 p.m. I've got a train in about 2 hours, so I shouldn't probably idle for too long. But I mean, compared to other Friday video weblogs, it's late. But at the time I usually do them, I usually do those before I take the train. And this time is pretty much the same, except the other weeks I had no class in the afternoon, so that made it easier to film it at 3 p.m. This time at 3 p.m. I was in the middle of a class. Well, I was at 3 p.m. exactly. I was walking towards the place where we have the class, and I was late, so I stayed for 1 hour without being able to do anything because my computer has no battery. But yeah, you know, I know the trains. I don't like the candidate, because we have elections, said, yeah, we're gonna have the high-speed rail from Montpellier to Paris and from Toulouse to Bordeaux. And I was like, yeah, but what about between Montpellier and Toulouse? And the other thing was, hey, Montpellier to Perpignan, but there's this other line, high-speed railroad between Perpignan and Figueras in Catalonia. That's, I mean, there were big. The project was supposed, that line, it was supposed to have 30 something like 35 trains a day. With for the travelers, and 24 for the freight trains. At this day we have 12 trains a day for the usual traffic, and I don't know, but there's a handful of freight trains, which is terrible, because it's only a third of what it's supposed to be, and we're 5 years into this line's existence, and it cost €1 billion. I mean, a billion, it's 1 and 9 zeros, not the other billion that's 1 and 12 zeros. Because you know, in French we say 1 billion is 1,000 American billions. Because 1 billion, 1 and 9 zeros, it's called a milliard. You know, there's 1,000, million, and then that's when it stopped being the same. You got the billion, you got the trillion, and a trillion, an American trillion, is actually a millionth of a French trillion, because your trillion is our billion, and our billion is a million billions. No, is a thousand billions. So, billion. Yeah, your trillion is a millionth of our trillion. So when I hear you saying, yeah, you've got a debt of, I don't know, several trillion dollars, it seems like a lot. But we're picturing it a million times bigger when we're saying trillion, because I actually because we have the word trillion in French. But we are too lazy to think, hey, that's not an actual trillion. That's the millionth of a trillion, which is a billion. You in Euro in French I think it's long count and short count. Short count makes million, billion, trillion. Long count makes million, milliard, billion, billiard, trillion, and you know that's a thing. Anyway, what did I want to talk about? There was something that I had a long, deep talk with my best friend, who is a girl, and it ended up I ended up saying, yeah, I mean, I think I love you. I'm not entirely sure. Feelings are something really complicated, especially for me because I'm 22, and as far as I can remember, I never had a girlfriend. Yeah, I mean, at a moment on the internet, on AOL, because we had AOL, I had actually two girlfriends, except one lived in the middle of the country, some in the center of the country, so 400 or 500 kilometers up north, and the other one was 200, 100,000. Now, she was 400 or 500 kilometers up north. The other one was 200 kilometers to the west. So, I mean, it doesn't count to me. There was one time I nearly had a real life girlfriend. It's a long story. We were pretty much playing it tsundere, you know? We were, apparently I was in love with her and she apparently was in love with me. But we were beating at each other. It was something, whoa, fierce. I mean, I should have taken the hint when she offered me a watch, wristwatch, for my birthday. I probably should have taken the hint. And I mean, I explained the whole situation to her when we were in high school, and I knew there was no chance anymore because she was bi, and she decided to not date boys anymore, which turned out pretty great for her because she got married, I think, recently. I think. I mean, she's always said that it was her girlfriends were her wife. So I'm not sure if she's actually married, but hey. So she told me that at the same time I wanted to date her, she also wanted to date me, and it was probably the most awkward moment in my life. So yeah, that removed a lot of trust in myself because of just that. Anyway, there's also one thing. That I'm pretty much an overthinker. When I was in middle school, which is when I really started getting having an interest in girls. I mean, apparently I was in love with a girl that was way older than me back when I was like 5 or 6. But that's something I don't want to remember, which is because it's the first and only time I got shit-faced, literally. I got shit-faced on wine. Kind of a cheap champagne, but it's not actually champagne. It's another you know, that sprinkly wine that we do in the region, and I still like very much. So I don't hold grudges against wine. And I apparently proposed to her dad. You know, I asked her hand to her dad or something like that. I don't remember, because besides the fact that I was shit-faced, I was 5. Even though that's kind of a whole excuse, since I remember stuff from really early in my life. There's a big blank around the time that I was in preschool, because I was pretty much bullied. Not because of my origins, but because I was more intelligent than everyone else. Because I knew how to read before first grade. That's something. Apparently, no, it's pretty much big trauma, because I don't remember that at all. Besides a few things, but yeah. At the time, I was already wearing polos, so I guess it wasn't all that bad, because I would have been traumatized for the rest of my life of wearing that kind of, you know, kind of pretentious shirts. But yeah, I always was the overthinker. When I was in middle school, I didn't want to actually ask her if she wanted to date me, that girl, because I was like, yeah, but she's a class under me. She's one of my underclassmen. And I'm like, next year I'm going to high school. How am I going to do? Or am I not taking the risk that we might break up over something that petty? And it was the same with a girl I loved in high school, and that became my best friend after that, because we had a hearty banter, a little bit of a cheeky little banter every time we saw each other. We literally saw each other 2 hours a week, because she was one of my underclassmen, and even though she was a close friend of my then best friend, because he was one of my classmates and he was in the same kind of bullshit that I was. I was like, yeah, but I mean, I am probably this time I'm not going 20 kilometers away for the studies. I'm probably going 100, if not 150 kilometers away. And I was like, yeah, that's going to be tough, especially if at the end of her last year of high school, she decides not to go to the same town as me. How am I going to do? So that was pretty much one of my main complaints, because I always refused to see the fact that, oh, I'm also not really attractive as a dude. I don't say that I'm ugly, but I mean, I'm sort of a piece of shit human. I mean, the only worse people than me I see are Hitler, Donald Trump, and Marine Le Pen. And probably her father too. I don't see a lot of people. I have a very low self-esteem, because even though I don't remember stuff from when I was young, there are reports that I traumatized my sisters because they were like me on an intellectual standpoint. They didn't want to do like me, and apparently they decided to kind of hold off on the whole hey, intelligent, I'm kind of a genius actually thing. Even though I never, until probably middle school, I never was the kind of person to say, hey, I know stuff, you know? I knew stuff, and when the teacher was asking questions, I was like, hey, I know the answer. Sometimes the upperclassmen were like, hey, we don't know that stuff, could you help us? And I was, yeah, sure, why not? And besides that, was like, hey, are we playing soccer or what? And I was like, hey, could you please make me a striker? Because I'm fucking sick and tired of being a defender every fucking time. And middle school, I began really cashing in on being clever, knowing stuff. The main things I knew was the world capitals. I still know a lot of them. Uh, One of the things I have a hard time remembering are the countries of the ex-USSR, like Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, like all the stands really, because I know a few stands. Kazakhstan, I know it because I mean it's such a big country. How could you mistake it? But Armenia, Georgia, I know the capitals. I think Kyrgyzstan, I learned the capital because it's such a weird name. If I'm not mistaken, it's Bishkek. If I'm not mistaken. One other capital that I really remember easily is Mongolia. Not because we say not because of the Mongolia part, because of the capital. It's Ulaanbaatar, and Batar. I mean, it's pretty much French for bastard. So that's easy. You know, it strikes me at fairly easy. And then there's the easy countries like Russia, China, Vietnam, because I'm Vietnamese, Japan, France. I will always do like, hey, I don't know the capital of France because I don't like to say Paris. I don't like to give Paris any credit. No, you're not the capital of France. Fuck off. European countries are really easy. American countries, there are not a lot. I mean, North America and South America, Central America, more of a blur. I know the capitals, but like that, I would say, hey, what's the capital of Guatemala? I would say, is it Managua? And it's probably that. I'm not entirely sure. Honduras is Tegucigalpa. I know that one of them is the country. You know, there's El Salvador, which is San Salvador. Belize is Belmopan. Nicaragua is Managua. Guatemala is Guatemala City. Mexico is Mexico Distrito Federal. Cuba is Havana. The Bahamas, it's Nassau. St. Kitts and Nevis, the Caribbean, I have a hard time. Trinidad and Tobago, I know that it's Port of Spain because it has a different name in French. It's literally the name translated into French. It's Port d'Espagne, because I think it was French at some moment. Trinidad or Tobago, I think it was Trinidad. Montserrat, not actually a country. It's a crown dependency, I think, or it's part of the Commonwealth, but is an independent country. That its capital was it currently lies under ash because of a volcano, which is the Soufrière, I think, and it's been moved to a city up north. So I don't know. Saint Vincent, Saint Kitts and Nevis, I don't really remember. Barbados, Grenada, nah. But yeah, countries in Africa also pretty complicated because sometimes I don't actually remember the name of the country. Like, I know some countries in Africa. The north is really easy because it's all Arabic countries, and I'm Arab. Well, I'm Berber, so not exactly Arab. So Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, and then there's also the countries linked with that, like Mauritania, Chad, Sudan. I mean, until the equator, I know the countries like Mali, Niger, Nigeria, Togo, Congo, and there are two Congos. I usually call them Congo Brazzaville and Congo Kinshasa because that's how they were called when I was young. That's not the case anymore, though. Anyway, but yeah, I always overthink stuff. Like, last year there was a girl that I really, you know, it was sudden. I don't think I really was in love with her because I wasn't devastated when she left the Masters. But I was like, hey, that's a wasted opportunity, man. And the worst thing is, it really was a wasted opportunity because we had been put in the same group, and I was like, this is the best thing this teacher has done for me since I had this first class with him last year. He put me in the group with the girl I had views on. And I was like, yeah, we never worked together, really. So that's literally the most wasted opportunity of my entire life. And also, I don't like talking about my feelings because it's a weird thing. I'm attracted to girls. I think it's more aesthetic than really any kind of romantic. I mean, romantic, it could work. Sexual, nah. I don't feel sexual attraction. It's strange. I would go as far as dating. I mean, I would say that I could be in love. Do I want to have sex? Nah, not sure. And on the other hand, I know that I would make a great father. I just know the stuff you should do and the stuff you shouldn't do, especially the stuff that you shouldn't do to go for in life, because I have done pretty much everything that is on the list. Hey, don't you fucking do that, you moron. And yeah, that's the story of my life, basically. The most times I do stuff, I'm like, no, don't, oh god damn it. I react in hindsight. No, fuck, Jesus Christ. Anyway, so this is the 39th Captain's Video Weblog. Probably going to do until Monday, the 42nd, because 42, the answer to life and the universe and everything else, and thanks for the fish. But also because it's 1/10 of 420, so it's all memes and all. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Will be Saturday, and I will probably be in the garden of my parents' home. That's nostalgic. I mean, I hate being in a place for too long because it creates some kind of routine. I know it, because the only thing that I've done to really fuck up my whole sleeping schedule is stay in Montpellier for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, and suddenly I go to sleep at 5 a.m. and I wake up at 11 a.m. and bam, that's it. Because of 2 weeks. So I know that now it's the routine. I break the routine by going back to my parents' home. Doesn't mean that I won't do what I did all this week, but it's with a twist because it's at my parents' home and it's a weekend, so I can afford to do it. Get it? Probably. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow, so this will be the 40th, because September has 30 days, and so it will be the 10th of October, and oh Jesus Christ, this is just so good. Goodbye.